Hi everyone, so today we are going to talk about the import and export in Odoo. It will be mainly about import because it's a bit more challenging and we wanted to explain that today. We'll then have a bit of export, of course, at the end of the session. What is very important is that we are going to have a look at how to import, functionally speaking, but we'll discuss a bit about the technical aspects of an import. We'll have, I guess, also a second session in 3 weeks from now on a library. I will show that after on how to import really massive amounts of data. It won't be the topic today. Here I want just to make you discover how you can import things in Odoo. So we are going to spend most of the time, of course, in our favorite software. So let's start now. And you can see that here I'm at the moment inside a database on our SaaS platform. What is really important also is to realize that even though I'm doing things here live on our SaaS environment, the way the import works is similar on all the environments, and it's more or less the same also on version 9, 10, 11, and 12. I will show a bit of the differences of the improvements we brought over the versions, but technically speaking, it works the same way, I would say. What is also really important about the import that we will cover today is that we are more going to tell you, to give you a technique of import rather than prepare files for you. What is really important is that you know how this will work when you are going to import your own files, and that you can be independent after that. So I'm at the moment on my database, and I will start with a few examples that are quite easy to understand. I will go in the CRM application, and if I go and have a look at my customers, you see that here I'm at the moment on a database where I created those demo data. I loaded it, and I could create a bit more here, but I will start not by importing customers. I will start by importing something that is even more, that is even easier to import. In fact, I would like to import more the federal states that we have. Why I'm starting with that? That's because it's a really simple object, simple type of record in Odoo. If I go into the federal states and we have a look at what it is, it's just a state name, a state code, and a country. When preparing this demonstration, I wanted to have a look at how to import the Belgian state, and then I realized that in fact the states in Belgium, you see here, already exist. So I was like, oh, in fact I didn't realize that Odoo by default also imports the states, so that's funny. I will cover that later. But so I had to find another victim, and I saw that we could easily get a list of the French departments. They work with departments on our side. In Belgium we work with provinces, but and so I found a database, if I may say it like that, where you will find, you see those are the different departments in France, where I could get the CSV file that is here, and I downloaded it. And if I let's re-download it again, I would go right in my download and webinar folder. Very good, departments, yes, and let's save the CSV. I will open it with Excel. All right. Webinar, all files, departments. And what usually happens is when you open a CSV file by default in Excel, you will get a CSV here that where the data, everything is in one column. So what you can do first is manage text to columns here and say that it is delimited, and you are going to use here the comma to say that in fact the values in CSV file that stands, by the way, for comma separated value. So it means that the values are separated by commas, and it will create columns once you separate it. You get the following result, and what I will do is that on my side I will just use here the following effect. Okay, so that's the file that we get once you make it text to columns right here, as I would like to remind you. So here text to column, and then you pick what you want to do. And I would like to import that inside Odoo. So you can see that here, usually first when you receive a file from a client, or when you are dealing with the file from another software, the first thing that you need to ask yourself is what's the quality of the data that I have inside at the moment. You can see that here things are questionable. We would receive that. I would first ask my clients Okay, you sent me some information, but explain me please the difference between C, D, and E, because pretty much I see that it is the same information and I don't know what it means. So usually you would get a result where the person will say, okay, you are going to only use column E, that now turns into column C, because the rest was for a private integration, we don't need it. So you first have to start a bit, maybe cleaning the information that you have. I will do the same here with the following numbers. And let's say that this is what I want to import. I will save the file. It's asking me, would you like to save it as a CSV or should we use an Excel file? In fact, CSV works just fine. Lots of programs allow to save in CSV, so I would say I would maybe recommend it, but for a few versions now, Odoo is also allowing you to import XLS files or XLSX, so you could be saving in XLS. It could work as well. So let's make a first innocent, I would say, thing right here by importing this information. I will go in my Odoo, in the Federal States, and here I see that I have an import button. Usually on lots of the list views you will find always that import button that makes it possible for you to import data. What is really important is here you see that I'm working at the moment on the notion of a specific business object, which is the country state. So those are the federal states that we have. Of course, the place where you start your import will have an impact on the content that is expected from Odoo. Here, as I'm in the federal states, of course, Odoo expects that if I click on import, I'm going to load these federal states. When you click on import a file, you get a bit of help here, that, and among other things, you are being redirected to our import FAQ. So if you have some help, if you need some help, first have a look at this FAQ. And if it's not enough, you can contact our customer representative or your partner if you are working with a partner, and they will help you. They will guide you for this import. And if you think that the import FAQ can be improved, just let us know, and we will do it, of course. We'll see also that for some other items, like I think here, yeah, for the contacts, you see that if I click on import, this time we prepared an import template. So since version 12, I'm not sure, maybe it was already there in version 11. We now provide you with a few import templates on the most iconic business object that we may have in Odoo to, well, at least give you an example of how you can import your file. I will come back to this later in the quality on the import template file that we provide. Let's go back here on the federal states, and I will click on Node file, and I will select my file in my webinar folder, and I said those are the departments. And Odoo will load a new screen, and here, if you remember what I have as a file, I didn't put any header in my columns. So when Odoo is asking me to map the columns to import, I should first have a look at my file and realize, okay, I didn't say that this was maybe the department number, this was maybe the name, and that I don't know what it is. So I didn't insert a first line. So Odoo is asking me, okay, so should I consider that the first line is the header? Here, no. And so you see that I don't have any header, but I can still select how I would like to map the information. Like here, I can say, is it the country? Is it the external ID? Is it the state code or the state name? And here, on my side, is the state name. And let's imagine I just want at the moment to import the state name. If I click on import, it will import right away, but I can have a look at does my file have any error, and I can click on test import, and there it's going to tell me, hey, in fact, if you wish to import a state, you need to give us a country, because a state cannot be existing without specifying which is a country. And usually this information that you have here, that country ID field, you will find that if you create a state manually this time, well, those are, you see that the field here is mandatory. So that's why we have this situation. So let's go back and let's try to import. Let's load again a file. Go back here, using modification, and let's get back here. Okay, so I don't have a country value. So it means that here I see that in my columns I don't have any country information. So I will create maybe so that country information, and I would say here is France everywhere. I can save it that way. Now if I reload my file right from the interface, you see now I have a fourth column. I can select country, then state name, and I can again test my import. Now it's telling me, again, you are missing a state code. All right, let's consider that it is the first column. Whoops. Let's set the import. This time it's telling me everything seems valid. That's good. So let's import. All right, I see that 101 records have been imported. And if I group by country now, I can see, okay, all those records are indeed linked to France, and now I have my state codes. What if now I made a mistake and I realized that the first letters here, those should be at least capital letters, because I've been importing that. It won't be nice on my letters or when I need to print an address in Odoo. I would like to change that. The thing is, I could be doing the following and say I won't do it for all the departments. I'm sure there's an Excel capacity that will do it, but I don't know the formula, so I will skip that part. But you get my idea. If you make a change on that file and you want to re-import it, what's the effect? So let's try. I'm here with my import file. I can click there, load file, again, department XLS. Same thing. Okay, now I need to say that this is the state code, this is state name, and there's the country. So I test my import. It's telling me now, there's an issue. In fact, the code and country already exist in Odoo. So you cannot update that information. I'm sorry, because you are going not to do updates, but you are going to create a second time a department whose name is 1 and the country is France. The state code is 1. So basically Odoo is telling you you have a unique constraint that tells you that you cannot have two states codes, number 1, that are in France. But that's obvious. You only can have one department that has that number. So in fact, here I realize that he's asking me, he thinks he's planning to create a new department. So that's maybe problematic because I don't want to create a new department. I want to update one. But the thing is that Odoo is, I won't say not smart enough, but considers that here, without giving any more help, it's considering that I want to create a second state whose code is 1. So maybe I should have acted a bit differently with my file. And that's where we are going to talk about the notion of ID in Odoo. At the moment, you have seen me creating new departments in the federal states. Right here in the France, we have 101 departments. And if I want to update those, I can do it here from the interface, but maybe it's faster to do it in Excel and then to import. But how am I going to tell that when I'm importing an Excel file, I would like to update the information instead of creating new information again? Because apparently here Odoo suspects that I'm creating new information and encoding twice the departments. So what I will do is I will select the departments here. I will say no. Let's delete it and let's start. Let's create a new import. I will delete those records. Anyway, I just created it now, so I'm sure it's not linked to any address at the moment. Let's have a second look at this. And by the way, here I would like to improve my file a bit by giving a header inside, so that next time I import, I don't have to select manually every time the column, the headers. So what I will say is that here's the code, here's the name, here's the country. So let's try first, before diving into the update and the notion of ID, let's try to have a look at this one. Now I import, I can load that file again. And you see, because of the header I gave, because of the title of my columns, now this time is not bothering me with the first column and lots of errors. It's directly finding that code is linked to state code, name is state name, and country is the country. So it makes it easier if I need to re-import my file several times to always put, that's a good practice by the way, to always put header information. Now of course, if I import it that way, we know that I won't be able to update it later. So what I would like to change as well, and that's very, very important, I want to make it possible to edit later, and if I want to do that, I need to give to Odoo what we call an ID, so that if I give along an ID when I create that list of departments, I will be able later, reusing the same ID, to update the information. So here I will insert a new ID column, and I will base it on my code that we have here, and I will say, okay, I would like to concatenate some information, and it will be my import, and I will then use B2. All right, so if I have a look at my ID, that's how it looks like. And a thing that I must say when selecting your ID is that you are going to ask me lots of questions if you see this for the first time, I'm sure. One of those questions is usually, how do you decide what you want to put here? Well, usually you have good practices for that as well. You can only use a notation where you would have one dot, and that's why here I'm using AHU import, then dot, and then one specific code. And also what you want to avoid is having several times the same code here. Luckily, I know that departments in France, they are unique. They all have just one code. So I know that because I'm concatenating the information here, it is also a unique ID because the code is unique. All right. And so another question I get frequently is that on this ID, why can you use whatever you want as a first part? In fact, yeah, you can create it as you prefer. You get the choice. You get to choose the ID. It's not the database ID. It's not just a one number. It's what we call an external ID. You can give it yourself from the outside. And by the way, we use a lot that in our Odoo standard code. I will come back to this later. So here's my code. That's the ID I want to give. And now, this time, let's go back to everything being lowercase. All right. So that we will see a difference later. Let's reload the file. Now you see, as I give the ID column, it's telling me, okay, you wish to import the external ID. And the external ID, it's something that is quite nice because it allows you to update later the information. If I click now on test import, it's going to tell me, all right, so no change. I added a new column. It's not telling me I messed things up. I still usable. Let's import that. Okay, right, we still have it in France. And now let's try to re-import a second time. And let's change this that way here by providing this time the change I wanted to have. And let's re-import that file. Departments. Test import. And this time you see, I don't have the same error as the one I had before. It's telling me, okay, all right, now you want to import, but you are not going to create a second department that has the country, the code 1 for the country France. You want to update the information for that particular item, whose ID, whose unique ID is this ID. And if I import it now, what it did is, indeed, this one, you can see that it updated the information. So that is very, very, very important. You get to update the information when you give the ID. And this ID is really important as well, even when you create for the first time. Because if you create for the first time without any ID, you won't be able to update. So a good practice is always to, when you import a file, XLS or CSV file, is always to give this ID information. Now there's something else maybe that you will see sometimes, is that you can import or re-import a second time by using the notion of database ID. But for that, you need to export first. So let's see how I could have done this also. You see that here, if I let's select all departments, and let's re-export it in another file. So you know that I told you we are going to talk a bit about the export. That's the moment. You know that you can click on Actions, then Export. And when you click on Export, you are going to select what you want to do with the export. Do you export for using the data in a spreadsheet? In which case, we are going to export useful information for you to create pivot tables and things like that. Or do you plan to do that to update the information? I'm doing this in order to update information. I will export it in an Excel file. And you see that here, you have the notion this time, if I have a look at the country, it's true that I cannot maybe access to all the information. I will maybe use this one rather, yeah. Because here you have ID. You know that here when I update the data, I have external ID, which is the external ID I gave right here. But otherwise, Odoo also contains a notion of ID, not external ID this time, it's just ID. And ID this time is the database ID. And although it looks sexy, so I will export this, and I will open the file. Okay, let's have it here and open it next to it. Although it looks sexy, you see that here the ID is the following. It's just this time only a numeric value. It's just an integer compared to the external ID that we have here. So if you compare those two, you see that here you have external ID that was given by the person that wanted to import this information, and then you have the database ID that was selected automatically by Postgre, which is the database that Odoo uses. And it has an advantage, this ID, but it has also a big disadvantage, which is the following, is that you don't get to choose which ID you will have, nor it cannot be used between different databases. Let me make this a bit more clear. At the moment, I'm using Odoo on one database, which is the following. Let's imagine one day I would like to re-import those French departments on another database. What will happen is that if I give my own ID, I know that this ID is unique, I created it myself, there's no reason that somebody created an ID that starts with AHU_import, so I can import that on another database, it will work. But let's imagine I'm using rather this file and I'm saying, okay, I would like to update the ID 212 or 248 in my database. Odoo will maybe understand you and act behind your back by saying, okay, but you thought that ID 212 on your first database was related to Hokkaido in Japan. But what you don't know is that on this database, it was not created in the same order, and the ID 212 is linked to Florida in the US. And so you may have, you will maybe re-import some information based on the database ID, and that database ID changes and you cannot rely on different databases. So it's important to rather use the external ID once you are importing your own data in Odoo. Now, of course, I'm not saying that it cannot be, you cannot rely on the database ID, which is this column. I'm saying that it could be dangerous if you don't know what you are doing. So I would say rather use this notion of external ID, the one that you created yourself. So now that we go here, let's do something a bit different again, talking about ideas. Because here it was quite easy. We imported something that was easy to understand. Yeah, we imported departments. There is not that much relationship. I would say that this document, this kind of business object, is flat. So there are not that many relationships between the notion of a department and the other objects that you may use in Odoo, which is not always the case. Because if I start now working with something that is a bit different, that is a bit harder, like the contacts or the products or even sale orders, then it becomes another story. So what I will do now is, I know that this works. I could import my departments. I can reuse that file on another database. That's great. I will show later how you can embed it in a module so that you can automatically do that every time you create a new database. But now, let's imagine I want to make use of those departments in another file when I import contacts. Let's have a look at that. So I will go in my contacts, and I would like to create a record, let's say John Doe, that is living in the first department in France, right? So of course I could click on create and do it manually, but let's imagine I have thousands of John Does that I need to import. I will create a new file. I will select here name and then state. And what I will do is that I will say here ID. I will again use my import one, so that if I want to create more later, it will be all right. By the way, I should be a bit more specific than using this my import one, which is completely not explaining what I'm doing. Let's select John Doe here, and let's select the state here, the first one I think in France. So let's go here and say I'm going to import the contacts. I'm saving my file, and I could even add maybe the country, right? I'm saving my file, and now I will import it. Load the file, contacts. Okay, good news is it could find all the information here. Let's try to import this one. Okay, it seems to work. Back and find, okay, do I have John Doe? Yeah, I have a John Doe, and it's related to the same, the correct state right here. That's good. And I see that it was created right now. It's quite good actually, but I see that at the moment I could get some errors here. Like, what if I am using translations? You know that France is easy because it's the same word in lots of different languages. But let's take the side of Belgium this time. Let's imagine that I'm here, linked to Belgium, and I will add somebody else. Maybe I should do the following. Okay, create another one. John Smith, and is living in Namur in Belgium. Let's see if this works. Let's select my second item and let's import that one. Including my file, contacts. Okay. Let's import. Seems all right. And if I look John, excellent. So you see that here again, because of my, I will close this one. Because of my ID, I didn't create a second John Doe. It updated the first John Doe, and now it shows that correctly is in France. Yes, good. And the second one says Belgium, country Belgium. Good. But France is the same word in French or in English. But what about Belgique, which is the first, the name we use when we speak French in Belgium? Let's try this again. Let's go on the contacts. Okay, this time it says Belgique. Let's import. Now I get into troubles. It's telling me, hey, sorry, but there's nothing like Belgique in country. So I've been looking in all the countries we have in Odoo, and sorry, I cannot find Belgique. That is problematic because it means that then your file here is dependent on the translation. It is dependent on the translation, but of course it's also dependent on a typo. Let's say Belgium instead of Belgium. Let's reload the file. Without any surprise, it won't work. And usually when you are importing files that were even at the beginning Excel files or coming from a software where you don't have a proper data management, you will find lots of typos. And honestly speaking, for my time at Odoo, we had, every time we had one good file of import, we had 10 that contain typos and that you have to fix manually, and it takes time. So what we can recommend when you have that kind of things, let's imagine you receive a file with people you need to import. You have addresses, you have countries, states. The first thing that you need to create, if you have the kind of information here, is create your own file and your own column here. And you are going to mention this time not the country, or let's say the country, but a second time in a different way. That would be by giving the idea. Yes, because here we were talking about the name, but the country is also a record that exists in Odoo. So wouldn't it be better to use the ID instead, so that I'm sure of which country I'm selecting? That would be the best thing to do. But how are you going to find which ID is linked to France? Well, you have different ways of doing that. The first of which is going to the configuration. As I want to import countries, I can go into the countries list, select the countries here, and say, okay, action export. And when you export, you can say, okay, I would like to export here, and select the external ID. We have here the country name, the country code. Excellent. So export to a file. I would say, yeah, rest country, that's the file I get from Odoo. I open this file. And I have the name, I have the code, the ISO code of the country, but I see also I have the ID here. Excellent. All right. So if I look for France, yes, France this time. Yeah, it's base.fr. Easy. Okay, let's put it here. And I guess it's here. It should be base.be. Okay, that's good. Those are the IDs that I want to import. Let's try this one. Let's go back to my contacts. Let's click on import. Loading a file. Again, my contacts here. Okay, let's test the import. He didn't find information for base FR nor base BE. Plus, I would say that there's a second issue here is that I have twice the country information. Which one I should select? First thing I should fix is removing that information so that I'm not using this one for the import, but more like the one that is secure, which is this one. Okay, let's close this. Let's remove that and let's say old country value, for example. That's the one you received in your Excel file. And then you have the country. Let's reload this. Here you see all country value. Odoo doesn't recognize it, so that would be already a first issue that is fixed because we have now only the real country we want to import. Now it's telling us you are trying to import a country whose name is base.fr, but no country is named that way. That is not a name, it's an ID. So we need to explain Odoo that we plan to import the ID. And if you click there, you will see that if you go lower in the what we call relational field, no, I see that's something that is missing at the moment. I should maybe report that later, but yes. Is it the one we need? Yeah. So here show fields of relational fields. Here you will see that if I go in country, I can add this time country database ID or external ID. I hope that since the beginning of this webinar, you listened at least to my voice and that you know that this time you need to select not the database ID, but the external ID. And if I import this time, it's telling me everything is valid because I explained to Odoo that I wanted to import the country, but not based on the name, but based on the ID of the country. And this, you see that here I had to select it manually, but it can be done differently by selecting also automatically. It's just a naming convention where you have to select here the name of the field / ID. That will give you the external ID, or at least you explain to Odoo you are going to import the external ID, knowing that you have the same for the database ID, and this time it is /.id. So that's important because it's a convention. You cannot do without. Or if you want to do without it, you have to select it manually here. So, of course, here if I want to select base FR, base BE, this wouldn't work because in the database ID, I only am dealing with numeric values. Okay, so that I know I will get an error if I do this because it's going to tell me, okay, you're telling me about base.fr here, number 1 here. What is a good one I can import? I don't know. So let's make a test. You will see that. So I reload the file. I again test my import, and there it's telling me ambiguous specification. As I said earlier, we have the information. If I remove that, and by the way, you see here it's country / external ID, while here it was country / database ID. Let's remove that one. Let's import. All right, it's again okay. And now if I click on import, 2 records were imported, and John Doe and John Smith are in France and in Belgium. It's all right. So next time, when you import things and you have a relationship between different objects in Odoo, I would say try to favor, if not, I should maybe say it's mandatory, but try to always take the country, well, the notion that is a bit more technical here, but at least is secure. I'm not saying that this one won't work. I'm saying it's a risk you are willing to take. So, and it's a risk plus if you have typos and lots of ways to I would say write Belgium or France or Netherlands. Is it Netherlands? Is it the Netherlands? Or is it Holland? Lots of people will mess up with the names of countries, you know it. And it's just about the country. I'm not even talking about departments or the streets names. So you know that those are the things that you need to pay attention to the typos. So that's an example here based on the people, but it's the same when you deal with products that you want to put in a category. You import products, but you need to specify the category of the products you would like to import. So it could be really useful to consider the notion of ID. Now, there is another thing that I need to explain when I'm talking about IDs is that, of course, as I'm creating a contact here, I'm creating a contact by saying, hey, I would like to create the contact and link it to a country, but it means that the country needed to exist before. So I'm introducing here the notion of order in a file. In the different files you want to import, because of course I'm referencing something here. If it doesn't exist, I will get an error. So always start with what we call the master data, the most, if I may say it like that, most master data first. So the countries, the states, and then you import the companies and then the people working inside the company. That's one way of doing. For the products, you need to import, let's say, the accounts to which the product are linked, the taxes, because you will need to link the product to the taxes when you import the product. Import the categories of the product first, and so you get my point. You have to sometimes think about the order in which you will import your file inside Odoo. Okay. Now I'm saying this. I must say that I was quite also impressed by some feature I saw recently. That was the following. So let's go back to here country, and I would like to introduce you to new things. I hope the example will be good here. Let's say here we are going to import and say that those people live in La La Land, because here I think I saw, I don't know if it's a good example with the countries, but I saw something like now on some minute-one fields, you can say that you would like to create the record at the same time. So if you are sure about what you are importing, you can say to Odoo, yeah, I know that it doesn't exist, but please, if it doesn't exist, do it. So it can go faster sometimes. If I click on import, load the file, select my contact, I think I saw that kind of thing. Maybe it's, and I'm saying maybe it's not in version 12, which I'm using at the moment, but maybe it's in one of the SaaS versions that we have at the moment. I should maybe give it a quick check if demo is in our SaaS version. Otherwise, maybe I can check that and put it on the YouTube video after. Seems like I have connection issues. Yep. Right. Okay. Seems like I lost connection. Okay, so I got connection back. Maybe you lost me for a minute, something like that. I was trying to show, yeah, this new feature on the import. If it's not there yet in version 12, it will definitely be in version 13. So if I release this admin. All right, I'm just quickly checking if this one is available on our demo version. No, but usually you will find another checkbox here that's telling you, hey, do you want to create it if it doesn't exist? That being said, you can test it on our SaaS platform. So now let's maybe discuss a few other elements about the imports. Before I answer the question that you may have on your side, I see lots of people active on the chat, which is a good thing. So those different files I've been working with at the moment are of course quite easy examples, and it's for sure you can make things more complex. I have a file here of maybe a few more companies. Yeah, I should maybe not open it in Sublime, but in Excel. All right, where here if you divide it to text and columns, you will find a bit more information. And here you see that compared to my first file, I have a few things that are maybe, I won't say counterintuitive, but that you need to know. And if I look at this file, again, you recognize the ID here. You have sometimes other fields that you don't know whose name they have. What's the name of those fields? Why are you calling this one ref? And why are you calling another one is company, is underscore company? How can I know that? There are two ways you can know this information. The first way, I'm not saying it's the easiest, but it's sometimes really handy when you are connected to Odoo and you just want to quickly check the name of a field, which is going into debug mode. You can see that here I'm not in debug mode. Here I am in debug mode, and for those who don't know how to reach debug mode, that's easy, it's settings. You have here activate debug mode, that is right there. And as I am already in debug mode, I can activate it with assets. I'm not going to enter in that complexity at the moment. And if I'm in debug mode, I can go into my contacts. And in my contacts, I can click right here on my user. edit, and if I want to know the name of field, I can simply hover the field. And you see here that the field name is street. What's the VAT field name? That's easy, that's VAT. A job position, it's maybe a bit more complex. It's function. While here, phone will be phone, mobile will be just mobile. But sometimes you have things that are a bit more complex, like title, because as it's relational, it should have been title ID, by the way. Tags is a category underscore ID. So you see every time both the name of the field and the kind of object it is related to. And here, if I wanted to know the name of those fields, I would have to go on that field, record, and check the name, the field name, so that I know what I can import. If I want to import the notes, for example, here I can see, okay, the name is not note, it's comment. So if I want to import the comments on my John Doe and the like, I would have to say comment and say la la la. And doing this, I would be able to import after. So that's one way of knowing how to import, by having the field name. So if I go my file, re-import it, load it, contacts, nodes, yeah, test import. All right, need to remove that, test import. Okay, and John has now la 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 defined as an internal node. Okay, that was easy. All right. Another way of knowing that the name of that field is to export. That's another of the function you will find in the export feature of Odoo. If you select here, click on export, you will find here, when you click on update data, CSV or Excel works as well. You will see that Odoo, when exporting the information here, let's select the internal nodes, was our internal reference, that's good, is a customer, is a vendor. So this information, if you don't know what's the name, the technical name of the field, you can export it in a file, and Odoo will, I think, use this info. Yeah, here ref, you remember ref and supplier, and will give you the name of those fields when you export. So if you need several fields, that's maybe the better way to work. Okay. That being done, I think that I need to explain a bit also some of the things that we do on our side for the import of Odoo. So at the moment, I've shown how you could import, but it was basic. How you can import contacts, make relationships between the different objects that you have in Odoo. We talked about the database ID, the notion of external ID, which is really important. And I would like to show you also a few examples of what we do on our side as import, because let's again talk about the countries, or let's even talk about all these Azure interior people. Those are demo data, and as such, they are imported by Odoo when you request Odoo to create the database with the demo information. And as I did it here by creating an Excel file, importing the information, this basic demo information is also contained in our Odoo modules, sometimes under the form of CSV files, sometimes under the form of XML files. Okay, so how does it look like? But, let's have a look at the Odoo code, and you know that we can have a look at that by going on GitHub. So it's getting a bit more technical, but bear with me, it's not that complex. If I want to have a look at my products, I can go in the product module. In the product module, you see that usually in those modules, so I'm really in a module of Odoo, you have two folders that will contain data under the form of CSV or XML file, which is data folder, and you have another one that is called demo usually. I don't see the demo here, so maybe I should pick another module, like the sale module right here. Maybe everything is data in data now. Let's have a look. Yeah, now you have sale data, XML, and sale demo. And so the information you have in Odoo, like Azure interior or in the sale examples, so the sale order that we load at the beginning when you create, when you use a demo database with test demo data, it's contained in here in sale demo. That contains the demo data that we use. And in sale data.xml, that's another type of data that Odoo will contain, which is the bare minimum that you need once you want to use the sale application. If I want to have a look at that file, I see that we are, yeah, it's more like about buttons, so it's not really relevant. two examples. So I will maybe more dive into the sales demo XML. And there you see what Odoo can create in terms of demo data. But this one is an XML file. It has another structure. It's a bit more complex and more verbose to write. But in some of the places, we will use the CSV file for the import. I'm not going to dive into an example of how to import XML files. It's a different topic. I think I should maybe create another webinar for the XML import. But we rely more and more on the CSV one. And for CSVs, I think that you have other good examples in the sale when you go into the security, where usually we have our model accesses. So the rules for knowing if a person can read, write, or not on a specific object is right here. And this is a plain CSV file where you have also those column names, and where you have again that notion of ID and the notion of name and which model you link it to. So Odoo is relying a lot on CSV import and also on XML import, but here I want to talk about the CSV ones. And so this means that if sometimes you feel blocked, there are a few things that you can do. Is first test, rely on the errors that are given by Odoo, because honestly, when you go here, click on import, select your file, and import something, Odoo will guide you. It will always tell you in the red bar here what you should be doing. Here, I'm not talking about, let's say, when you have dates, for example. Sometimes dates don't have the right format. When they don't have the right format, you can count on Odoo to tell you which format to use, or will guide you having an option box for opening this. And so whatever the error that you will get about unique constraints or whatever, Odoo will tell you what to do. That's the first thing. So rely on the error codes that we give you. And the second thing is have a look at what we do. If you are a bit more advanced, a bit more techy, have a look at what we do already in our code base. That's a general feeling and general advice. Once you don't know, have a look at what we have been doing, because most of the time the question you ask yourself, we have been confronted to the same question and we solve it into our base code. So don't hesitate to have a look also at what has already been done by, for example, here in the case of a CSV file, having a look at all the CSV files that we have and that are contained in the data folder. That's one way of solving it, or at least searching for the information you need. Something I should say also about the CSV or Excel import is that usually when you we get lots of demands for how can I mass edit this information? I have some salesperson that left in my company. I would like to, what is really missing for you, Odoo, is the fact that I could select the guys here, click on actions, and automatically link it to somebody else because my salesperson that was responsible for all these guys just left. I would say, okay, but you are asking me to mass edit the salesperson. Somebody else will ask me to mass edit the country. Somebody else will ask me to mass edit blah, blah, blah. And so you would have mass edit everywhere here in the actions. Even though it is possible by using the server actions, I won't talk about that today, but I think it's also the topic of another webinar. It could be solved by adding this type of action here. I think that it would be wise to always question this demand by saying, okay, can it be done through an export and re-import of information? Yes, no. Let's imagine here I want to select all those people and add a new salesperson. Let's try it. Let's update the information, say Excel file, all right. And I have the salesperson, that's good. I have the external ID. Let's try it. It's completely, I guess I will find one or two mistakes here. All right. Let's go into the partner, user ID, and you see here it's providing me the user ID, but and everywhere it's false. I will put my name because I think that's the name that is used for my user. Let's do this. And while at the moment, if I go back here, if I group by salesperson, I only have 2 under my name. If I re-import, load the file, I think that was the one. Let's see if it's telling me everything fine. It's telling me, yeah, it's trying to write another type of information. But you get the idea. Usually you should be able to do that. I will redo it. Yeah, by removing email and phone, because maybe I have some emails that is already related to a ticket. So I won't play with that at the moment. And here now, if I group by salesperson, you see that okay, everything has been linked to my person. So importing for avoiding that mass edit notion of feature. That's also something that we get a lot as questions. Finally, before I start answering your question, and maybe that during your question I will have more feedback, or at least I can orient a bit more discussion or cover things that are a bit more complex. I would like to talk just 2 minutes about the export feature of Odoo. It's not that but very complex to use. We already covered part of it at the moment. But basically, I would say that you have two main reasons for exporting the information. And those are listed here. What do you want to do exactly? Do you want to use data in a spreadsheet, or do you want to update data? Update data, I have been doing that now several times during this video. So the reason for using this is to benefit from the notion of external IDs, and always select that external ID information instead of the name when you export, so that you can re-import it later. And then you have the export format being an Excel or CSV, depends on what you prefer to work on. The second reason for which you would like to export the information is to use data in a spreadsheet. And there, when you select this one, you can dive quite deeper in the information. Maybe using this on contacts is maybe not the most efficient example that I could find. I think it is better to go on a transactional object like sale order. We already offer some capacities of reporting here, but let's imagine you need to cross that information with other software that you use, and you feel like, no, Excel is the right thing, the tool I need at the moment, because I'm not gonna pour data from my other software in Odoo or do the opposite. I want to use Excel. Then you can click on Action Export. And there, let's imagine that you missed the partner country, because we don't have that by default. If I look here, I don't see any country information. That's because the country is not a direct field on a sale order. If you wish to have the sale orders per country, okay, that's possible, but then you need to click on the customer and then export the country information of your customer. And if you click on country, then select the country name. And that will give you the possibility of exporting information by diving into the related items. And here, so I was on the sale order, I could dive on the country, on the customer, and then on the country. So that I get information that is not directly linked to the sale order, but at least I can make some export and play a bit with the information I'm exporting. And this, what is really nice also with the capacity of export, is that you can save your field. So if you wish to reuse it later, you can say, okay, export by country, so that next time you can reuse that information. And if you don't want to, you can delete here, and this information can be reloaded automatically. All right. So you can export that file, and next time you will be able to re-export it just with one click and gain access to the same information and reload your dashboard, for example, if you prefer to use Excel for that. Okay, and that's where you have this information with the country name. Sometimes it's false, of course, but that's where you get the information. Okay. I feel like maybe there's another thing that some side information I should give you. Some people sometimes ask us where is, by the way, stored the external ID information. Is this some information that I will find in Odoo? Yes, indeed. That's some information you can find in Odoo, which is located here in the settings. Under technical, you have right at the bottom here, you have somewhere external identifiers. That's the other name, if you like, for external ID. So if I look here for all the ones that contain AHU, I think, yeah, I have all my imports at the moment that are contained. But you see that here on this database, I already have 27,000 different external IDs that are stored. And you see here that the notion of complete ID is really what I had here on my contact, which is the ID here. So when you import this, my import 1, my import 2, this is stored somewhere. If it's not directly on the external identifier, that's it. You see it's here. That's my John Doe on my REST partner. So it is indeed located somewhere in Odoo. And you can change that value, but you need to know what you are doing, of course, if you wish to do that. I'm just having a look at a few of the things that maybe I should mention. Is that when you are dealing with a big file, let's say, for example, you want to import contacts. Let's import here a bigger file. Like, I think on my side, I will consider this company file. I will see if it's possible to import this one. Okay. It's just covering, I think, I think that you already saw. Let's imagine you will get an error in the middle of your file. Let's say here I don't know if it's a company or not. It should be true or false, but you put I don't know. I think that Odoo is working wisely and will tell you if I reuse that one. Will I find it? I don't know. Yeah, will tell you, and there is the creative not exist. Yeah, you see what I was talking about. If you are creating this, Odoo will tell you, will give you a few errors, and if you try to import, it's really important. You see here lots of errors, not only related to my I don't know, by the way. What is really nice to understand is that Odoo will either accept the whole file or reject the whole file. So if you have errors in a file, you don't have to feel like, okay, I know that I already imported those, because it won't. It will either import everything or it won't import anything. So you can rely on the fact that it is imported in bulk, and the whole file will be considered for the import. If you have an error, Odoo stops and won't put all the information. And it reads Odoo the Excel file from top left to bottom right. So in some examples, if you have some information here, like this partner that needs to be used later in the file, you better first mention that partner at the top of the file, because it will be used later. You cannot reference something that doesn't exist yet. Odoo will parse the file from top left to bottom right. That's really important as well. So that's it, I think, for a few tips. I guess that when people try to import, there are often lots of questions that arise, and on our side, we are really eager to help, providing you more information about good practices and what you can do with Odoo. I think that if you feel stuck as a client, don't hesitate to contact your partner. Your partner is the first person to go to if you are working with partners, or contact your customer representative at Odoo or your consultant. We'll be more than happy to help you. And now I think that it's the time to have a look at some of your questions. I think there are a few here. All right. You are all very polite. Everybody saying hello. Yeah. Yes, sorry, Julia. It's true that I speak fast, and the idea was to go to show lots of things. Okay, I have another question here. Maybe that's the first one. It's a complex one, if I can say it that way, from Mr. Paulo Brass, from France, I guess. About the question is in French, but here it is. Will the presenter have the time to show how to import things that are a bit more complex, like receipts and inventories? I will try, but I cannot guarantee you that it will be straightforward, because it's true, it's more complex, because you have lots of relationships. And I've been confronted to that, and I had to do it. I have a few example files on my computer, but I cannot show it because it's a link to a company, a real case example. So what I can do for this one is maybe try to create an inventory file at the moment. Let's try to do that. If you go in the inventory, create inventory adjustment. That's good. I already have one here for my box of Coca-Cola on my test environment. What is really good is that I told you, when you want to create an import file and you're a starter, let's say it like that, you can always export first. So what I will do is that I will create here an import of a product, and I will export that information. Okay, and if I export that, I would like you to think about all the information you would like to re-import after. And based on that, I can already tell you, if I let's create another one, it will be more obvious, that there are a few information that you are forced to give. Here, first you have the name of the inventory that you need to give. It's mandatory, it is highlighted here. You have the inventory location. You need to specify here if it's about one product or several products. You need to select the company if you are in a multi-company environment, but usually Odoo does it for you automatically. And then when you start the inventory, you have a list of lines, which are the stock moves, and those stock moves also have mandatory information to give. So it's not that easy. Okay. So starting this inventory, I could maybe make use of that one to select here. Click on export and you will have okay, there is reference status. I won't need it because it will be imported in draft. Inventory date, okay, and then I should maybe say update data. I told you it's better that way. So inventory reference. Okay, Odoo is telling me, okay, which are the fields that are mandatory. I told you that company should be selected automatically, so I won't select it. Inventory location, okay, all right, that's very important. I will select it. Then inventory of, that's for telling me if it's about one product or several products. And then you have inventoried, I think it's inventoried products, no, create and moves. I think that's what we will need after. Okay, and there I will select everything that is mandatory, the destination location, okay, demand, expected date, product, that's mandatory as well. So you can see that here I'm already having something quite complex, huh? Because I'm exporting lots of information that is mandatory, and we can already have a look at if that would be sufficient. I will save this one, export, re-import, okay. I'm telling you this one is not easy. Stock inventory, all right. Let's have a look at what I have here at the moment. That's the idea of my inventory. That's if I want to update the inventory that I just exported. At the moment, can I do that? Let's have a look at the state of the inventory. And at the moment, this one is in progress. So I won't be able to re-import it because it's already in progress. So I will create a new one. I will call it AU import inventory 1. All right. I won't do it for Coca-Cola, but I will import a new table. So that's the name. It's just a name. I get to choose what I want. Here it's telling me what is the location I want to that I want to use, and this location I have as an ID. And which location it is? Here it's not correct because it shouldn't be on a partner location that I would be doing my inventory. I should use another one that would be a stock location. And if I want to get the stock location, I will give you another tip right now, which is when you are in debug mode, you can get the XML ID of any kind of other records by exporting. We know it. But if I'm only interested about one location, I can go here and say, okay, I'm interested about this stock location. And there you have the possibility to see metadata, and when you click metadata, you have both the XML, database ID and the XML ID. So I can use this one instead. Up, that's it. Filter none. Okay, move IDs. Okay, this one I'm going to use it. Do we have a few moves? No. So that was not exactly what I needed to export. I thought that the moves that we have here were, in fact, the information that we had here in inventory details. So I selected the wrong column. So I can already tell you that this one is not correct. So let's retry another export. Export. I'm not going to reuse that one because here I know that this is incorrect. I think that those are the moves that are created after. Right? What was it? If it's inventory product, get it? Inventory location, no. Creating moves. Then it must be inventories. Location, no. No. Then I will need another thing, which is the name of the field itself. It's inventory details, but there we have inventory line, we have the product, the measure, the location. Usually what can help you is that here I'm looking for some specific lines that are related to this inventory. So I should look exclusively in the ones that have a small arrow on the right. All right. Didn't move. I was there. It was not it. Inventory location. No. No. That's maybe the one, in fact, inventories. Let's try it with this one. And let's export and add this. Let's see if we have the information we need. Yeah, this time we have the information, so that's it. We need to export that information. All right, we have the product barcode, quantity, and all of that. Okay, so let's fix the file with what I had before. So ID, name, and location. Right. ID, name, and location first. Okay, and then we have this info with the line. All right, that's if I want to modify the existing line. That's product barcode. It's not a mandatory data, it will fetch itself. Quantity will be needed. Inventory location, that's the same. No, that's the one I need. In here, I will use a product that doesn't have any lots so that it's faster. Here, partner ID, it's not related, I won't have a partner. No package either. What I need is also product ID, okay, and units. All right, I will select another product so that I can do it not only on the same Coca-Cola here. I will use a table, so I will go in my sales products. I will select my product or iPhone table. That's perfect. I have one here. Okay, I have my table here. What's the XML ID? I told you one way of getting this information is to go in debug mode and get directly the XML ID of that product. Metadata, and you see that here it doesn't have any XML ID. What I need to do when I have this kind of case, I need to export the information so that it will get an XML ID, or I get to choose and use a database ID. Here, for the sake of the exercise, I will use a database ID. It will be faster, but if you wish, you can go back on the products, go there, select the products that you would wish to, for which you would like to have an XML ID, and you export whatever you want. And now it should get my table. Should have one, I think. Yes, you could be using this one. All right. That's maybe another tricky part. Here I'm on the product and not on the product variant, which is wrong because it's on the product variant that I should be doing what I'm doing right now. So let's export that information again. Okay. And select my table, right? Metadata. I have my XML ID. That was my previous inventory. I don't need it anymore. I want to change this. Okay. Let's try to import this one. And we'll see where we have errors. Let's go here. Inventory adjustment, import, load file. And here it's telling me, okay, just import. Everything seems fine. Import. Okay, I have my import for my table. Inside, if I start my inventory, I will have already my table for quantity, the quantities I had. Okay. So I went quite fast, but you see the idea. It was exporting the information, and then once it is exported, you define your own ID. Of course, I changed the name, but it's free information. I knew the location ID is here. I use this one and this one because it's the starting location and the ending location. That's information you have here, but you also have it right here, even if you don't see it. Then I remove the thing that I don't need because I have here the serial number and the pack. I didn't want to import that information. And then for the rest, it's just giving the product that you want to use and the units, and we have it here. So product, units, location, we have it here. Yeah, location there, which is the same. I should have changed one little thing, which is the inventory of, and not select all products, but just one product, because here I knew it was about only one product. But otherwise, I could be using different lines, and that's maybe another example I can give, is that if I want to mix both and create a new inventory, let's do that, because that's maybe one of your questions. I want to create a new inventory for another product. Yeah, which one was it? That was the one. Yeah, and have two different products. They also manage in unit. And I want to create an inventory with two different lines. That's also possible. I need to stop here. This is about the inventory, and everything about the lines, which is here, I need to duplicate it. And let's imagine here it's about, yeah, let's say 40 units this time, or 300. If I save it that way and I re-import my file, oops, not create manually, import, load file, it is. Yeah, so you see here information about the inventory and information here about the inventory lines. I click on test import. This time it's telling me you cannot have two inventory adjustments instead progress with the same product. That's because I have at the moment those two inventories in progress. I will cancel those. That's a business logic of Odoo, which is excellent. I come back. Those two are in draft now, so I can import my own file. So the error was not so much about my import, but about the fact I shouldn't have to import at the same time for the same product. Now it's okay. I import. And here I still have two imports. Why is that so? If you were really paying attention to what I was saying, that's simply because I didn't change this ID right here. So in fact, I didn't create a new import. I changed this import. So if I click on start inventory, now I have two lines. So that's why I didn't create a new import. I changed this one by adding a new line. Okay, so that's it for the question. Sorry, it was long, but I think that was needed. I only see the comment about the volume. I hope it was then fixed, or you could put it higher on your side. There was a question about how to import image logo for contacts. I won't have the opportunity to show it to you, but there are two ways. First way is no, there are maybe more ways than that. I think that it's a more support question because the time it will take for me right now will be a bit long. I think that we started something with the URL. Let me check that. Odoo image import. I wonder if we don't have a new thing about that. So those are modules in the community. Let me check. Yeah, it's not ours, but I thought we did it. So either from a URL, you have a few modules for that, but not the standard ones. But I think that now we do it. I will need to check that. Maybe you can either contact our support, but it's definitely possible. Another way that works is give the image base 64 information, because let's do the opposite. Let's go on my image. So sales, products. Okay, you said on the contact it would be good as well. I think maybe on the contacts. I have a few pictures. Yeah, Azure interior. Okay, you have this one, and let's imagine you want to export that Azure interior with the logo. I think that it will give it to you in base 64. So let's export that. You must have import export to update data, and then you must have something like image. Yeah, let's try this one. I export. I think it will give me. Yeah, you can import that in base 64, so you have to encode and decode it, and Odoo will understand it. So you see, it's funny because you come with a thing, and what I told you is, if you don't know, test or export, and this gives you the information. That's one way of doing, of course. I'm not saying it's the best, because to be honest, if you have thousands of products to import, your file will be too big and it won't work. And I think that we released a tool on GitHub for importing images as well. So I need to check that one. Maybe go back on the event or contact us later, and I see if I can find that information. Finn Macmillan, your question is more like how to set up properly the inventory management. It's not really related to this topic today, but if it's about, and let's imagine I don't understand correctly your question. If it's about creating locations and warehouses, again, you can do it by importing those locations. I think I have maybe not have the example here because I don't have that many locations, but I have some other databases where we can have several thousands of stock locations here being imported. Should I use any external ID I want? The Andre Bruno de Souza. Yes and no. Usually yes. The thing is that the best you should do is test a bit. Always test on a test environment, and don't use the XML ID that already exists. Anyway, Odoo will tell you if it already exists. I think that you will get an error that way. Let's try, by the way, doing this. I will try to re-import some information, but reusing an an ID that I already have on my somewhere else. So let's try to reuse the ID I had on my people's name here on the departments. I think that Odoo will give me an error. So let's try. For that information, then it was importing departments. Yeah, so here I have an XML ID that doesn't match it. Yeah. Yeah, it's telling me, okay, it already exists, so it's triggering another error for another reason. I should maybe have done the opposite instead. So let's do indeed the opposite. Okay. Yeah, I should concatenate here, but more like take the value. Right. Let's try to import this one. Okay. Remove that. Ah no, then that's maybe a slight improvement that we have now. Not sure though. I need to check that one. So it reminds me of the fact that you should be using your external IDs carefully. But in order to be sure you don't have the same XML IDs, you can have a look at the ones that already are created in Odoo in external identifiers. Yeah, but if you start using XML IDs that have your name, of course, yeah, you won't find anything related to that in Odoo by default. But I advise you to find a way to have XML IDs that makes sense. Then I have another question here. Can we import purchase orders or sale orders? Technically speaking, yes, you can, but I don't recommend it. The reason why we don't recommend to import transactional data, and it's valid for sale order, purchase orders, or even invoices, is that you will import the things, and most of the time you will import it in draft, and then you will validate it. And so let's imagine you import the sale orders and the delivery orders that depend on the sale orders. You will import the sale orders, you will import it in draft, and then once you will validate the sale order, it will create another delivery that you already imported in another file. So usually, what we import a lot, really a lot, is master data. But everything that is transactional, it takes much more time. So we try to avoid it. We try to, and if the customer or you really want us to do it, we will. It is possible, but it's much more complex, really. Not because of the import itself is not complex, even though when you import a sale order, you have to rely on tons of different objects. But it's more like the consequences of importing an object that is in a specific status and that has a specific workflow. Just to let you know, when you import a sale order, you can go and realize the complexity of it for the sheet that you need to create, the CSV sheet. If you go here, everything, so you need a customer, you need to import the name of sale order, the customer, the invoice address, delivery address, the date that you have here, all the other lines, you need it. And so it means that on the customer, you should have first imported the customer address, the countries, all the information about the customer, of course, all the information about the country, the taxes. On the optional product, it would be the same. It means that you would have to, before you import your sale order, have set up all your warehousing and stock location environments, imported all your salesperson, all your tags, all the sales team. So you see that here it's possible technically, but it should be imported as the last step because it relies on so much information. It's a bit complex. Plus, if you import it in instead quotation, then you have to expect that you will have to validate it. And if you tell me, oh, I need to import 3,000 sale orders, I will tell you, okay, but you are going to validate 3,000 sale orders just afterward. And it will be also something you need to manage. Sitetia, my export stops resulting in freezing the screen when I try to export 65K products. What's the fix? It's not a fix what I will recommend you. It's a kind of a solution though. You have two solutions here. Either you split your exports in different files, because when you go here, there's something I didn't mention, but it's nice that you asked such a question. When you go into the contacts, here you have a list You select those. If you click on Action Export, what Odoo will do, even if you have more than 63 items, I should maybe go in a place where we have more than 80, like the countries. No, country groups here, countries. Well, we have 250. If I select here, all the first list, so I selected 80 items, I click on Action Export. Odoo will export. If I select just here, I export the file. You see that what Odoo will do is that it won't export only, let's open it, yeah, only the first 80 items. You see that although I selected 80 items, it's exporting everything. That's because Odoo believes that if you select the top item here, it's for exporting everything. All right? If you don't want to do that and you want to export only the 81st item, then you should do a little trick like here, export 81, select all of this, and then unselect the last one. All right? And that would work. You would export the first 80 items. So if you have a list of 130k items, products on your side, you can split it into 2 or 3 or 5 files. It will make it easier and faster to export. It's true that it's problematic because you need to then gather it after in one file. But the second issue that you have is that when you export more than 64 and some products, I think it's of course we are talking about base 2 here. It's 2 exponents, a few numbers, okay, 16 I guess. You will get to the limit of Excel file. So XLS file cannot export more than 64 and something lines, or if it's 65, maybe. I need to find the exact number, but that would be quite easy. It's okay, it was 50. Well, I lost it. I went a bit too fast, but you get the point. And you should use the CSV instead, because I think that there's no limit. I'm not sure though. So instead of exporting in Excel, choose CSV. It should be a bit faster also. That's another thing. And the last point on your question is that you say that your screen is freezing. It's another thing, because the screen shouldn't be freezing. If the screen freezes, that's because you are trying to show too much information. It's not about the export. And if you try to show too much information, you will get also an error here. I don't have a big database here, but if I went on our Odoo database that has 1,500,000 contacts, of course we would get an error if I want to display everything on my screen. In JavaScript, it will my computer will burn literally. So that won't be possible. But you don't need to show it on the screen in order to export it. Okay. So as I said, you can select here several items, and if you select here on top, you can export everything. And if you tell me, oh, but I have too much, then you can use the filters and you can have less in your export. Christian Malich, which version was external ID introduced? I'm running Odoo 9 and I do not see external ID. It's wrong, because it should be there. So you have external IDs since I'm not sure, but I'm quite confident it existed already in version 7. So it was already there, and in version 9 it's definitely there. So have a look. Maybe now what could happen is that on your screen, on the import screen, maybe we don't propose by default the external ID, but it was there. The concept already existed, that's for sure. External ID automatically created, exported. Yeah, I see that some people already explained that. Hindi language is also supported in Odoo ERP. It's not related to this topic, but I'm very glad I can answer that. Export field name. I see people talked a bit and explained, and reply to each other. That's great. Thanks a lot. Mr. Sousa, I'm not sure about once Odoo create an external ID, can we change external ID to a rational number? I'm not sure of what you mean. I've shown you where you could go for changing the value of the external ID, so maybe it can help you making some tests, but again, test it first. Mike R. I don't know what you mean by if the external IDs have avoid the creation of variance information when we make an update by reimportation. I'm not sure of what you're asking, so maybe a complementary information would be useful here. Anas Abdullah, the demo with products with variance and values. This is more or less what I've demonstrated with the inventory, in fact. So it's also a matter of relationship and using the right IDs. The only thing is that you need to work carefully around the fact that products have different variants and that those variants have different values, and that you need to not to confound the notion of product templates and product. If you wish to import a variance, first import the master data that is called the variance, and then import the product templates and link them to the variance you wish to use. You need to be in debug mode to create item on import. Yes, Keith, thanks a lot. Indeed, that's maybe the reason why here I had it on the debug side and not on the other side. So maybe I should show that again, which is when going here. When going here on import, you select a file. So let's select my customers. Create a big file, so it will take time to load. All right. Take another one then. I will reuse the context one. Where we had, yeah, create if doesn't exist. That's because I'm in debug. Thanks, Keith. What should be Boolean value when importing data? True or false? As you have it here, I think one of the examples I had, but it was fast, I didn't explain that. On company year, with Excel, see here, true or false will work. Michel Lamy, can you advise large set of contacts, more than 1,000 line items? It gives me a timeout. Several ways of answer that issue. So first, it is the easiest way that everyone can do is split the file in different files. Now, if you tell me that the file results in multiple complex modifications, because we didn't talk about all the formulas that you can use in Excel to make your life easier, and you tell me no, it's not something that is that's possible, I cannot split my file, then there's a way of changing the timeout value. That's a server setting, I believe. You can find that information in the documentation of Odoo. Finally, there is another solution that I can recommend that is using, and that's a bit technical, that's going there we have a colleague, is the leader of the technical team at Odoo, that created a library for CSV import, where, and I think it will be a topic of a next webinar, advanced webinar for partners, about how to import things. Because when you have a lot of data and you want to have a specific engine that will automatically rework CSV file instead of you doing it manually in Excel and import it batch by batches, that's definitely the tool you need. We've used it for several projects that we have internally, and it's really, really efficient. I'm just looking at the moment for somebody to co-host that session with me with a real example, so that we can show that. I think it's super, super interesting, but it's a bit more advanced than for today's video. Can you advise how to include an image URL? That I cannot tell you. I think that you should maybe contact me or the event team, so that we get your email and we can try to reply by email after. I know there is a solution, but I cannot find it back. Same question after. Importing receipts and manufacturing orders is more or less the same as the rest for the inventory. I'm going a bit further now because we are already 1.5 hours of webinar, and it won't be possible to last longer. Would there be another session for product import export? It's not scheduled at the moment, but I guess we could because there were lots of questions regarding the products. two suppliers with different price, same item. What's the best way to price it in Odoo? It is definitely the price list, Mr. Miguel Ignatius Eisen. Is it allowed to import stock moves? It is possible, but I don't recommend it because usually it's always linked to a picking, so it should be done in the context of a picking. It's better to. Yes, vCalc, very good question. Can you use the database ID of another software as the external ID for Odoo? Yes, it's really easy. That's a good one. I forgot to mention that. It's one of the good ways to manage the files because then you will find always the external ID easily. That's a very good one. Christian Malic about changing the external ID from the UI as you explained it. It's not possible. It's only in the place where I was. Again, one question about importing pictures and videos. So definitely, I think that's something we need to tackle in another video, another webinar. Mass update Kanban states like sale orders. Yes, it is. No, on sale orders, no. Kanban states on leads, yes, because it's some information that is not read-only. So mass edit, I told you can do it by exporting and then re-importing and changing the value you wish to change. Why you cannot do on a sale order? Because in your example, you wish to change the state and not the stage. And a stage on a Kanban view that is possible, it's usually a field that is read and write. While on the sale order, it's usually a field that is read only and that you can only change by pressing the confirm button, which is different. And the rest, I'm trying to read that fast. And then I think about the import template, it's true in Formedic, and I will finish on this one for today, is when you are somewhere, at some places at least, we started to realize that a lot of people need a bit of guidance about the import template, and so that's why we provide a few import templates on some of the most iconic places, like here, REST Partner. I upload this one, I display this one. You see that is what I exported, and this template, you can already use it, and it's directly exportable and re-importable. So if I want to upload this file, REST Partner is somewhere. Yes, one of those two. I don't know which one it is. That's the one. So that's the file that was given by Odoo as a template. If I click on test import, it's going to tell me again the error with the country that we don't use. Exactly the same. It's done United States, but maybe the United States, same for the States here, and then yeah. So Odoo is giving you on some objects, some business objects, some templates that will help you. So that's it for today. It was quite a long webinar, but I know that it's a complex subject, a complex topic. A few ideas though for the next ones, which is about importing projects, importing images, and importing big batch of data. I think we'll do that. I don't know when, but definitely we'll take your demand into account. So thanks a lot for your presence and the time taken here, and I wish you a very, very great day. Bye-bye.